I think perhaps you better both come inside.
It's just a jump to the left.
Alrighty then. It's question 4 and question 5. Alright, question 4, question 5. Question 4. Who is the audience for my media product? My audience for my magazine, according to stereotype, is that it will be a white male dominated audience who will be heavy metal rock enthusiasts. I can back this up with some evidence to support my theory. It is a stereotype, but there is evidence to support it. For instance, the actual music itself, metal and heavy music, they are dominated by men. I mean, it's evident in the lack of girl rock or metal groups. There's like 2 exceptions to this, and they would be white people because, again, stereotypically, black men and women listen to rap, R&B, reggae, or pop. This again is evident in that there are few metal rock bands with black artists bar Living Colour. And so it would be aiming at a very niche audience if I was to push it to that kind of audience, and it would just end up being, I think, a waste of time and money if it was solely intended for women or a black audience. So therefore, the audience that I'm going to be aiming at is white males. Again, it's reflected in the number of white male artists in this said genre. It's completely dominated by them. They own it, basically. They would be the ABC ones. It would be ABC ones and twos who would buy my magazine, because they have a disposable income. They can do that. They can afford to, splash the cash. Therefore, I can use advertisements for albums, instruments, and other products in my magazine because of that disposable income. And that builds revenue for my magazine as well, and it actually could attract members of the audience, the adverts, new albums and stuff like that. So what I'm going to talk about now is how I actually use my magazine to attract them. I'm not talking about putting perfume on or anything, but you know what I mean. The mode of address for this magazine is very topic area orientated. It's all about the topic, which is music, heavy music, and it's got to appeal and to address the audience from this medium. Therefore, we've got to work on a peer-to-peer basis or a teacher-to-pupil basis. You can alternate between the two. For instance, using music slang and swearing can be used in these magazines because it appeals to that masculine audience while keeping on topic and providing more of an atmosphere that the reader will be able to relate to. This style is apparent in so many of these magazines, even in Kerrang! But, especially in Metal Hammer, they're not afraid to swear because it gives off the macho impression. However, the larger articles have got to be, informative, and therefore, work on a teacher-to-pupil basis, but not so much that the readers feel, oh my god, I don't know anything. They've got to feel like it's a man at the pub telling them about a band he's found out about. Do you know what I mean? So that's basically covered the text part of my music magazine and how I use my text to draw in the audience. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the use of photography and the use of images. The images on the front cover of the magazine should either reflect ideal self or ideal partner. But in the majority of cases, because it's this male audience, it's going to obviously be ideal self. They've got to be masculine images. They've got to reflect strength. They've got to reflect power in the majority of cases, especially in Metal Hammer. They will also have to reflect the main subject of the picture, like a famous musician, in a way that makes them look cool, appealing to that readership, such as, just giving them a bit of a Photoshop in a way that makes them look, that gives off the ideals and the persona relevant to that artist. The colours that we're going to use, there will be dark colours, but it tends to be a dark colour, juxtaposed against a bright colour. So I'm going to be using all ends of the spectrum. Basically, these kinds of magazines, they focus on greys. But any colour can be used as long as it suits the topic and is in keeping with the house style of the magazine. I mean, my magazine tends to focus around black, white, red, and I try to keep it at that. I chuck in some other colours sometimes just to make it look a bit more interesting, but nothing that massively deviates from my house style. Metal and rock, being such broad musical topics, can feature so much stuff that comes into their mise-en-scène, depending on whatever topic. For instance, bands such as Five Finger Death Punch, they use a hell of a lot of military equipment in their images. Tanks, guns, grenades, all that lot. Whereas Mastodon, they use a surrealist art orientation. But in combining mise-en-scène with house style, Metal Hammer typically uses, the stereotypical barbed wire, the swords, the blood on its pages, to use mise-en-scène to further the house style, because it's something that's just generic to that audience. Cover lines on magazines often use the names of famous bands and artists to grab attention for the reader to take interest. For instance, my own magazine features Mike Portnoy and Heaven and Hell to grab the reader's attention and give my magazine something unique to it. However, I decided not to include the free gift for my magazine for a couple of simple reasons. If I was to sell this product in a way that I think would be attractive to an audience, I would sell it like classic rock sells its magazines. It sells it in like a card box and I think it makes it look a lot more classier and a lot more stylish. So I would do that, and that's where my my advertisement for my free CD would be. The other reason was just a practical reason. Whenever I tried to put free CD on my front cover, it looked silly. It didn't match with anything else, so I cut it out. But it's the first reason that I think is the main reason for why I didn't put it in. But if I had put it in, it would have attracted a lot of more of an audience, because it's just something that is stereotypical to that kind of music genre. In fact, just to almost any music magazine, you chuck a free CD into it, it's bound to be a success.